Hello and welcome everybody. My name is Pav Bryan. I am Director and Head Coach here at Direct Power Coaching. If you come straight in at nutrition and you want to take a look at the training part of this webinar, check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Pav Bryan, or just my website, directpowercoaching.com. Then click on blog and training. It's the pinned post to the top. This is the nutrition part. This is 2 of 4 parts which make up the bones to my book, Truly Effective Cycling. This is going to be split into 2 main things, and it's important to really know about the thing about nutrition is it's evolving. It's always evolving. You'll remember when fat used to, or for most people who aren't into nutrition, aren't nutritionists, or don't keep up to date, or aren't really savvy with it, will have heard at some point in their life and maybe believe that fat makes you fat. Now, of course, if you sat there and you ate a lot of fat and it was particularly unhealthy kinds, you might get fat. But in actual fact, what tends to happen is not that at all. Fat is an essential fuel for our body. As I said, of course, you can eat the wrong type of fat and it can make you very unhealthy. I think possibly there is a negative perception around that word, and it's helped fuel that thought process. Thankfully, though, we're a lot more clued up right now, and there's a lot less people doing low-fat diets. If you're an endurance athlete, there's a very good reason why you would not restrict any of the macronutrients, let alone fat. When you're doing long rides, especially at mid to low intensity, fat will be your primary source of fuel. Some people say, well, I don't have a lot of body fat, and we can take the example of somebody like Chris Froome, who I believe weighs in around 69 kilograms, and when he's riding Tour de France, he's probably 6-7% body fat, maybe a bit less by the end. He's still got thousands of calories in that and to burn on fat. So none of us really should strive to be that body efficient, just because he has a team of people that make sure that's healthy, and in normal life you would consider that quite unhealthy and very dangerous. In reality, you can run on very low carbohydrate stores, your body will turn to fat to fuel, but if you run out of fat stores, that's when you're going to be in incredible trouble and life-threatening situation. So we're going to talk about the macros. We're also going to talk about micros. Now, this is again missed very often by a lot of people, especially who self-coach. So I'm going to teach you basically where you can get vitamins and minerals from that don't come in a pill. We don't need pills. There are some really good supplements out there that you might consider taking depending on your personal circumstances. But in general, if you get a vitamin or mineral pill that is not based on a plant in some form, isn't natural, then your body's not going to do much with it apart from pee it back out. So I don't recommend you going out and buying a multivitamin at all. And it's very few supplements. Again, it's all down to personal circumstances what I do recommend. So there's no real blanket for me. I don't really recommend one product for everybody. It's much the way my coaching goes. So we're going to crack on. And obviously we're going to start with your macros. There's a lot of people that will do a lot of ratios, preach to you about your CFP, your carbohydrate, fat and protein ratios. Now, I'm open to a suggestion on any of these and have tried some out on myself, tried some out on athletes. And I can tell you one thing is that one will work for some person and it won't for another. So again, I'm not ever going to go into any of my athletes and tell them all to eat the same way. If you're doing an awful lot of long riding, particularly low intensity endurance, then getting your body fat efficient, so you're burning fat as your fuel, is a really wise thing to do, because you've got an almost infinite amount of stores of fat in your body, whereas you've probably only got maximum 2,000 calories in carbohydrates. So if your body burns carbohydrates very well and it prefers it so your threshold would be lower at the point at which you start to burn carbohydrates, then you're always going to be running on a very small fuel tank. So if you can up that with fat, then you're winning, definitely winning, because like I say, you have got more fat stores. It's a much larger fuel tank. The thing is, what we've got to just be mindful of here is that if you do a lot of races which are an hour long, even up to really 2 hours, you're not going to actually realistically be using a lot of fat for your fuel. You're going to be primarily fueling on carbohydrate. So in which case, do you really then want your body, or do you need to spend the time adapting your body to burn on fats? Maybe not, because if you're eating well enough day to day, fueling well enough, and then you're taking enough into your body while you are racing, then you could probably just knock it all out of carbohydrate. And the thing is with carbohydrate is it's very quick and easy for your body to access. It's why it's preferred. It's stored in glycogen in your muscles and liver. It's why you get a lot of gels and sweets that are very, very quick to digest. And it fuels your body's ability to perform very hard and fast. So that's why you tend to have a higher percentage of carbohydrate if you're doing that. Now, again, what I say is just test them out. That is the best thing. You need to work out, if you're going to self-coach, you need to work out what your event targets are, what that should look like in practice, how you're going to fuel that. If you're doing, and we went into this, you're athlete A, so you ride London athlete. If you are this person, you're riding for 6 hours, you are not going to fuel all of that on carbohydrate. You haven't got that stores. You wouldn't be able to eat enough. You're looking at realistically being able to eat a couple of 100 calories from carbohydrates every hour, and you might be burning 700 an hour. So you're looking at maybe 4,200 calories burnt in that 6 hour ride. You can intake 1,500. You might be able to store 2,000. So your shortfall now is sort of off the top of my head is 700. So if your body is going to fuel just on carbohydrate alone, and that is taking at a maximum maybe of 2,000 calories in your glycogen, liver and stomach before, and you maximum intake of 250 calories an hour, then you're going to be a shortfall. So you do need to think about what your event looks like and then how you're going to go about fueling it. Off season's the best time to do this, so you should have already planned out your how your training is going to look, and you should be able to notice and note down times where you can experiment with your diet. Try not to do this too soon to your event, and if you race a lot during the summer, I would avoid doing any testing in the summer. I would only want to do that if I noticed with an athlete that they would see considerable gains from switching, or they were doing something that was a bit out of the ordinary. So I wouldn't like to really change too much then. So with your meals, I always recommend that people do more like 5 to 6 smaller ones. Again, this is really personal. Some people will just go in for like your typical 3 big ones and then a few snacks. But I think the 5 to 6 smaller ones, which you need to factor them in around your training, family and work, tend to produce a bit more better or efficient results in terms of getting fuel into your body. Body tends to come quite sluggish. Again, it depends on what you're eating. If you have a massive meal, smaller ones seem to digest a bit better, but everybody's different and that's personal preference. And if you're really, really busy, 5 to 6 small meals might not be practical. Again, you can come down to how you prep these meals. Spend a couple of hours at the weekend or in your least busiest day prepping all your food for the week. Mass cook a lot of clean protein and make up some vegetables, everything you need, and make it really simple. The only thing you're going to need a lot of is Tupperware, plastic containers. And they're not that expensive. So that takes the effort out of really doing it. You never have to rush around again, and it can work with your family. Food, check out, if you've not done already, check out Nutritionally Fit on my website, directpowercoaching.com. We worked our program so that everybody in your family can benefit. It's not going to be like boring chicken and broccoli every night. It's going to be whatever you want. We don't dictate to you what you want to eat. We found that when we trialed that, people were telling us that certain family members didn't want to eat this, or everybody couldn't agree on it. So it ended up being that the person who was on the program, the athlete who was doing Nutritionally Fit, always eating on their own. And that's not what we want, because that's not part of my coaching. My coaching is about making cycling part of your life, not separate to your life. So you need to think about that and how that's going to work. And as I say, Nutritionally Fit for £10 a month. It's all about education. There's no commitment, and 30 recipes a month. If you can't find recipes on there that is going to be happy for the family, then you've got one fussy family, that's for sure. Okay, so a big, cannot stress this enough part about how you eat or how your nutrition digests is how you eat. If you are stressed and you're hammering it down, rushing really quickly and not enjoying it, then your body will not get the best from it. The nutrients will not all be like digested, and it won't do as much good for you as if you were relaxed and enjoying it. I always advise that you don't really want to feel full and never starving. So there's always that balance. Now, some people will eat until the point that they're just like stuffed, and some people like to feel starved. I think that that's the extreme. I think you should always feel roughly content. And if you're doing the 5 to 6 small meals, that's really going to help you out. Like I say, you need to really focus and find that relaxed environment. It's so crucial. And again, it's one of the cornerstones of nutritionally fit. And you can find out a lot about how I feel about how you should be eating on my blog. I think it is really missed. It's really something that is massively missed from coaching, is not just what you put in your mouth, but how you do it. And I think most people who haven't thought about this is probably thinking, this is crazy. Go and read that article, How to Eat. It's going to change. It's going to change the way you perceive everything about that. Okay, so cravings. Now, you need to Google this. I'm not going to put up a list of these, but often there is a very specific reason why you crave certain foods. For example, you're always craving salt or chocolate or something like that. That potentially could mean you're deficient in some sort of vitamin or mineral. You can go and find out what that actually means. But cravings are your body telling you something. So if you're always getting craving for a certain thing, try and listen to your body and find out what you're missing, because no doubt we want to balance our bodies. It's going to start in the gut, so we want to make sure that everything in there is happy and working. Because if you're not happy in your gut and your gut isn't working correctly, then everything about your body is going to be out of balance. Your body's not going to be getting all the nutrients it needs. Your recovery will be suffering, and it's so crucial. It's what holistic medicine is all about: treating the gut before you treat anything else. It's certainly not about just prescribing pills and synthetic and man-made medicines. I can guarantee that if there's only very rarely that there's something got to be drastically wrong where I'm like, yeah, you need to go and actually take that pill. Most of the time, most body ailments can be solved simply by listening to your body and finding out what's wrong in your gut. So diets, yeah, it's a big one. I've wrote a piece on as well. There's another blog on my website, which are fads and how to tell. And there's a few things on there that are really crucial. And most people are really clued up to this. And it's the promise of quick gains, but like lack of scientific evidence. Maybe there's a high amount of money to be put into it. Maybe you can't speak to people. The reviews are a bit like hazy. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. So you just got to be very careful. And again, I am not a fan of any sort of fasting or drastically cutting out any of your macros. It's your body. There's a reason why your body needs to have that balance. So most of the time, what nutritionally fit is about is common sense, a whole food approach to nutrition. It's just about what your body needs. So it doesn't need to be I don't feel it needs to be starved or fasted for any periods of time. I mean, if you only need to look at your sleep patterns to understand that actually, potentially, depending on how long you sleep and the distance or the time between your last meal of the day and your first meal in the morning, you're actually sitting in a period of starvation and fasting for a certain amount of time. So do you need to prolong that? Now, I really don't think so. And maybe if I was coaching bodybuilding or something like that, we'd be talking about a totally different thing, but we're not. We're doing endurance athletes. And if you're an endurance athlete, I really feel like you need to be fueling your body. And I can't think of an example where an athlete has come to me and been like, oh, I fasted for I did 5-2 diet or something, where two days of the week you're not eating properly or something. And they've actually had long-term success, because that's what it comes down to with most fad diets, is that yes, you'll lose weight, but it more than likely will come back on and you're probably going to lose performance as well. So last thing on macros is intolerances. Now, there's a lot to be said about whether we are intolerant to an actual sugar or protein or something else that's going on, particularly gluten, there's a good chance that it's something that's the crops have been sprayed with. Certainly from a personal point of view, I'm intolerant to gluten, but I do a lot better when I eat gluten on the European continent than I do in the UK. I have less issues surrounding that. But I think that actually most people will find that they do have some form of intolerance. So the main thing is to deal with this type of thing is that, again, it comes down to being mindful and listening to your body. So if you're having some form of reaction or getting tired, then you're probably eating something that's not agreeing with you. Do you get like stomach upset and stuff like that? And the thing why I always bring up intolerance is that actually people don't notice it. If they've had it all their lives and they've not been aware of it, then it can have a massively negative effect on your training. By simply removing certain food groups, you can actually revolutionize somebody's recovery. How they feel is another big one as well. What would you do to have more energy throughout the day? It's crazy. You'd be more productive. Again, comes down to you're not just your training would get better, but your work and your family would appreciate it more too. So listen to your body. If you're always going through life and you never really get any stomach upsets or anything like that, then fantastic. You're probably one of the minority. If you have any issues with your digestion and you have maybe skin complaints or lethargy, anything like that, then just start to do that. And the easiest way would be an elimination diet. Again, if you're training, try and do this during the off season because it's going to potentially have a negative effect on how much you can do with your training. And just remove, you could start by just doing common allergens. You can get a list of those off the internet. Obviously dairy, gluten, soy, egg, shellfish, nuts. These are all the common ones. So you could remove them. If you get better, it will take a few days, and you will have to probably be eliminating for at least a week to ensure that that's right. Then you can start reintroduce one at a time until you find the culprit. That's the best way. Don't be fooled into buying online tests. Majority of them are people who are going to just take a sample of your hair and maybe wave a crystal above it. And I'm not kidding. That's actually a legitimate way. It's dangerously underregulated. Or you can get blood samples done. And again, there's some really, really questionable activities around intolerances. And you could be told that you need to cut something out, which you don't. Just check the reviews before you do anything. And then it comes down to actually, in some cases, if you've got something like leaky gut syndrome, it's quite common, where nutrients leak through the lining of the stomach and into your bloodstream, then actually potentially if you have a blood test done or even a stool test done, then it's just going to give you a false reading anyway, because you're going to have certain markers in there. So that's why I don't think you can get that on if you're a UK resident. You can't get that on the NHS. I don't think they give that to people. I think allergen testing you can. Obviously an allergy is totally different to an intolerance in your body, and most people don't have, or very few people have, allergies. Okay, so micronutrients or phytonutrients, minerals, where do they come from? First line says it all: plants, plants, plants. That's where you get them from. So back in the day when it used to be 5 a day, you get your 5 a day. Well, it was better. 5 is better than none, that's for sure. But in reality, for many reasons, such as farmers no longer looking after the soil as well. So not much arable farming anymore, where they'd let the soil nutrients regenerate. They just farm every year. They've used selective breeding techniques so that there's more yield, there's brighter colors, it looks better, it tastes better, it's resistant to temperature changes or harsher, less water and stuff like that. It's all added up. And there's been some studies, and I haven't got it in front of me, where they tested out what the nutrient density of broccoli was, and 50 years ago compared to now, and it's fractions of the nutrients. Literally fractions. So 5 a day is great. It's better than none. 7's more like what they're recommending now. If you're an athlete, I'm going to shock you here, it's going to be closer to 20 portions a day, just to get the same amount of nutrients as you would have had done from sort of 50 years ago. And if you want more evidence of that, you can ask yourself, what color is a banana when it has the most amount of nutrients? Okay, so the answer is obviously yellow. And now nip down to your local supermarket. What color is that banana when it gets there? It is green. And I can tell you that the nutrients do not grow post harvest. So in the attempt to make sure that we get our produce on the shelf and sold in a reasonable amount of time, we are actually very, very quickly diminishing the amount of nutrients, the nutrient density of our produce. How do you make that better? Now, organic, for a start, is great. Organic is obviously reduce the amount of pesticides, and it's not totally. There are some that are still allowed and controlled. It's a lot less, and it obviously is a lot less harmful. I would be interested to know what the organic farmers, I haven't done the research into this, what they do about certain forms of rain where the rain actually contains chemicals. If you've ever looked into acid rain and stuff like that, from where we pump a lot of industrial waste into the ozone, and then it comes back down in the rain, what that actually looks like in terms of our plants, I'm not sure that has really ever been fully researched or released, and it's a bit worrying, really. But the one thing I will tell you is that local trumps everything. Buy local, buy seasonal, because local has reduced that time from farm to fork. And that's what you really need, is a short chain. If you can grow it yourself, fantastic, because I can guarantee you're not putting a lot of harsh chemicals on it. Shouldn't be. And it's going to be picked right at the peak of ripeness, and that when it has the most nutrients. So unfortunately, folks, 20 a day is what you need. So what you're going to feel, these are great, and this is all the things that you're going to feel better if you can increase the amount of micronutrients in your body. Recovery, reduced time to recover. Energy, you're going to feel more lively. General health, your sleep's going to be better. Mood will be better. If you've got issues like asthma, they tend to be improved. If you're into this, aesthetic or cosmetic improvements, such as your skin will be better, your hair, nails will all be better. Everything gets better when you eat more plants, and they are healthy plants, and they're not talking like candied, kind of sugar added. They're just plants. This is the backbone of Nutritionally Fit. And yes, there are products out there that can help you bridge that gap if you need them. I love to not take any product, but I have to, and I accept that. And there are some that just do make it easier. So check out Nutritionally Fit. It's awesome. It's £10 a month. It's no commitment. It's going to change the way you think about nutrition. I can guarantee it. So when you're out on a ride, again, you can check out my Ultimate Ride Fuel Guide. Google that, Direct Power Coaching, Ultimate Guide to Ride Fuel, or check it out on my website. And what to eat on your ride. Okay, so some people always go out with the gels. You need to leave sugar as late as possible, in my opinion, and eat real food first. You can eat homemade and avoid sports nutrition. That's fantastic. Sports nutrition products do have some place. They tend to be just more expensive versions of sweets you can buy in the shop. If you can get a natural sort of candy sweet, that's really good. Natural flavorings, less chemicals, they're great. But the reason why I say leave sugar until later is that once your body gets sugar in the bloodstream, it's going to start really preferring to use that. So we go back to what we were saying about fueling your body on fat. If you've got a long event, you want to be eating real food first, because as soon as your body starts to get quick sugar, it's going to really want to have quick sugar for as long as possible. And your bar might not be as effective later on after you've had that gel. Eat your bar first, then move on to your gel. And that's going to really, really help your body out, because I am very surprised if any of you out there can say that they have fueled a 6-hour like sportive or event, or like 100-mile time trial or something along those lines, a long endurance event, on quick sugars alone. Because most people get digestive stress, some form of stomachache, nausea, sickness, vomiting from having a lot of quick sugar the whole way through. It's just not what our body really needs. So, and again, test it out. Test it out in training. Do not rock up to your event and try something new. Now, if you're doing a sportive, you need to check out what they're going to have at the feed stations. It's totally understandable why, if you're doing something that is 6 hours plus, even 6 hours something, you're not necessarily going to pack it all into your jersey pockets. But what you don't want to do is rock up, and Belgian classic type challenges are great for this. Rock up and they've got all these different treats and cakes and stuff, and they all look fantastic, and you eat one and it doesn't agree with you. That's the last thing you want to do. So trust me, I've heard stories, horrible stories from a lot of people. Just research, find out people that have either done the event before or see what the organizers say about what they have on offer, and then test it. Go out for a ride, find something similar, test it, because it's better that you have that accident during your training ride than during the event. You don't want your event ruined by some sort of digestive distress. So again, we move at how often? Small amounts more often, much like my general fueling guide where it was 5 to 6 small meals. Small amounts more often is better when you're out on the bike. 250 calories an hour is roughly all your body will intake. You get try and get this from a mix of places. It could be in your drink as well. Again, you just test it out, but at 250 calories is like one really big bar, or it's like apple juice mixed with water and some half a bar. It's just like playing around with what works best for you, and understanding that, like I said before, eat real food first, then move on to quicker sugars. And I just sort of mentioned it by my hydration strategy: apple juice, water, pink Himalayan salt. That is the best and only hydration tablet you'll ever need. Seriously. Apple juice, organic, local, like for the same reasons I said earlier, diluted with water. Now, if it's a hot day, more water. If it's a cool day, you could have more apple juice. It's going to give you a nice little hit of sugar. It's not going to produce a massive insulin reaction either. The pink Himalayan salt, sodium, contains a nice form, or it contains sodium from a pink Himalayan source, is a fairly decent salt. Such a good source of it. And sip little and often. That's it. Test it out. So Precision Hydration do a very good one as well. They also do some very good sweat testing, and that can tell you how much or how densely packed your sweat is in terms of the sodium content. So if you're like me, you sweat a lot, and you also have a very high quantity of sodium in your sweat. Not only do you need to drink more, but you need to have more sodium. So Precision Hydration do a very good test, and they can tell you that. And they do great, very good products. But you can just use pink Himalayan salt, and that's what I recommend. So that should save you a bit of money. Good way of making sure you're hydrated, or you stay hydrated, is again in training. You should be coming back and just you can weigh yourself, and that's not a problem. But you can just check the color of your urine. It should be as clear as possible. And so if you've come back from a long ride and it's quite dark or vibrant colored, you've not drunk enough. So make sure you make notes about how much you're drinking, and that's going to help you progress it in the future.